So what do you have in your arsenal of hairstyling tools? Do you have detangling brushes, detangling combs, shears, hairpins, scrunchies? All of these tools and accessories that you have to make your hair look fabulous, but do they do more damage than good? Let's talk about it. Hey guys, Karen with Curl House. I'm a licensed cosmetologist, a certified trichologist, and the owner of the Curl House Hair Restoration Collection and the Curl House Let's Get Growing Health and Hair Growth Program. And today we are going to talk about your styling tools. So you know, at Curl House, we grow differently, which means we take a different approach to healthy hair and healthy hair care. So we focus on what's going on internally and we focus on what's going on externally. So today we are going to focus on the external care of your natural hair, but we are going to focus specifically on your styling tools, because if you're like me, just like you have a lot of hair products, curling creams, curling gels, moisturizers, mousses, you probably have a lot of styling tools as well to make your hair look fabulous. So what I want to do today, I want to make sure that these styling tools that you have, that you are both using them properly, and I want to make sure it's the proper tool. So we are going to start with what I think is your most commonly used styling tool. And these are your detangling combs and your detangling brushes. So the reason we're starting with detangling tools is because I believe the detangling process is when you may experience the most damage to your hair, because you are not detangling your hair properly. And more specifically, you may not be using your tools properly, or you may not be using the right tools. So we are going to start there. Now, before I even talk about the tools, I'm going to start with what I think is the most underrated or overlooked detangling tool that you have at your disposal. And what do you think that is? Your fingers. Yes, your fingers is actually a detangling tool. Your fingers is the best detangling tool that you have at your disposal, because you can use your fingers to gently detangle your hair, or what I consider to be a pre-detangle. If you are dealing with knots, then you can gently use your fingers to separate those knots. So the pre-detangle with your fingers is what you do before you pick up the detangling comb. So use your fingers to gently detangle your hair first, to gently remove the shed hair before even picking up the comb. But even though your fingers is your best detangling tool, it can become your worst if you don't keep your nails filed. Oh, okay, yes, I said it. Detangling with your fingers, it is also very important that you keep your nails filed and smooth. When you have jagged fingernails, then your nails will pull the hair out. Have you ever experienced that? I experience it all the time because I probably don't keep my nails done the way I used to. But anyway, you have to make sure you keep the nails filed, because you don't want your jagged nails to pull your hair out. And even if you have like acrylic nails, make sure those nails aren't lifting at the cuticle, meaning it's time for you to get a feel, because if that happens, then hair can get caught under the nail, and the same thing can happen. Your hair can come out. So use your fingers very gently, use with caution, and keep those nails smooth, y'all. Okay, so now we're going to move to detangling combs. So detangling combs typically are your wide tooth combs. You never want to detangle with a comb that looks like this. Too many teeth. So in this case, less is more in terms of the number of teeth. Don't detangle with this. This is good for your intricate styles, but you don't want to use it for detangling. You want to use a wide tooth comb. But are all wide tooth combs created equal? Do you think it's a difference in these two combs? They kind of look alike, right? Well, yes, there is a difference between these two combs. This comb is made of plastic. I don't think it's a very good, or I don't think it's a quality plastic, but it's made of plastic. And the thing that you have to be mindful of when you are detangling with a comb that looks like this is that it has seams. So when I say seams, there is a line that goes in the middle of each comb or each tooth. There's a line. That is a seam. And when your combs have seams in them, then those seams tend to attach to your very fragile cuticle layer of your hair, and it makes it snag and it tears. So if you're using a comb like this that has seams, be very, very careful. So I'm not saying don't use it, because a lot of us do, but just be very, very careful. My preference is a seamless comb like this. It has no seams in it at all. So if it's no seams, there are no opportunities for your hair to snag on the comb. So it's one thing when you're detangling your hair and you're doing it very harshly and you're causing your hair to break out because you're not being patient with your hair. That's one thing. But if it's another thing when the tool that you are using, or rather, when the tool that you are using may be causing your hair to snag and you're damaging your cuticle. And the cuticle, again, is the outer layer of the hair. And when the cuticle is damaged, then essentially that damages the inner layer or the cortex layer of your hair, causing your hair to break off. So it is my preference to use a seamless comb. Most seamless combs are made from wood, or they're made from bone, or they're made from high quality plastic. So plastic is not the issue. It's the high quality plastic that doesn't have the seam is the type of comb you're looking for. And a lot of combs that are seamless, or even wood combs, are made by hand. They're polished by hand. So it's just a much better quality of comb. They cost a little more, but they last a very, very long time. And what's most important is that it will not damage your hair. I will definitely put some links below in the description to most of the things that I'm talking about in this video, if it's some things that you want to check out. I would also stay away from combs that look like this. Do you all remember this? I used to use this all the time when my hair was relaxed. Great for relaxed hair. This rake on this side is great for straight hair, but not for curly textured hair. These are serrated edges, meaning they're very sharp edges, and you don't want sharp edges on your delicate, curly cuticle layer. So don't use this end of the comb to detangle. Now, if you want to use this end of this type of comb to lift your roots to give you volume, that's fine. But don't use serrated edges. They too will cause your hair to snap off. Okay, so now I'm going to move on to detangling brushes. Now, to be honest, I'm not much of a brush type of girl, detangling brushes. I tried them. It's not my preference, but some people love detangling brushes. That's cool. Now, if you're using a detangling brush, make sure it is a high quality detangling brush. One example would be the Denman brush. It's a very, very popular brush. Some people use it not just for detangling, but also for styling their hair, like to enhance their curls for curl definition. But the Denman brush, or brushes similar to it, they're awesome because they have several rows of teeth, which help the comb to naturally glide through your hair. And also the Denman brush has natural boar bristles, which is what you want, the type of bristles you want for your hair, or just high quality bristles. Now, what you want to stay away from is cheap plastic detangling brushes, poorly made, low quality plastic brushes. Let me give you an example. This brush. If you've seen a brush that looks like this, I've seen detangling brushes that look like this that separate, which are fine. However, if your brush starts to look like this, can you see this? Some of the teeth are missing. This will pull on your hair. Can you see how the teeth are bent up like this? That is going to snag your hair and cause your hair to come out. So I was at a friend's house the other day, and I was in her bathroom, and I saw this brush. And this brush is what gave me the motivation to do this video. I took this brush like, you can't use this. What are you doing? You're destroying your hair. And she wondered why she had so much breakage. It's because of this brush. So if you have a detangling brush, and if it looks like this, I said not the type of brush that separates. Some of them are really good, but I mean the brush When your plastic brush starts to look like this because it is poorly made, the quality of it is poorly made, this will cause your hair to break off. Now let's go on to your hair ties and your scrunchies and the things that you put in your hair to give you a fabulous afro puff. What you want to stay away from is hair ties or elastic bands that have seams. Look at your hair ties. See if it has a seam on it where the elastic attaches to itself. If it has a seam, then that seam, the place where the seam is, that is where your hair snags. I used to use them years ago when I first went natural. When I would take it out, I would always see hair wrapped around a certain point on the elastic band. That's where the seam is. So get rid of those seamed bands and you can replace it with these. This is satin scrunchies. I love satin scrunchies because the satin, or you can get silk, doesn't draw moisture out of your hair and it's seamless. So it's not going to snag on your hair. So get these instead. Okay, let me give you a quick tip if you are someone who's using an elastic seamless band. Before you put it in your hair, dip it in your favorite oil. It doesn't matter what the oil is. When you dip it in the oil, it's going to help you to be able to effortlessly let it slide in your hair. It's also going to reduce the friction that your hair strands feel when you're putting something in the hair. And when it reduces the friction, it's going to minimize breakage. So, you know, we're all about minimizing breakage and retaining length. So dip your elastic seamless bands in oil before securing them in your hair. Okay, so the next styling tool we're going to move on to is your bobby pins and hairpins. So I know if you're anything like me, you have a ton of them laying around the house. Now, what I want you to do with your bobby pins and hairpins, I want you to look at the ends of the pin and make sure they have that rounded tip at the ends of the pin. If the rounded tip is removed and if that metal is exposed, that metal is going to scratch your scalp, which is not good for the hair follicle because that can lead to a whole ton of things like inflammation or hair loss. But it can also scratch your hair, scratch the exterior of your hair, your cuticle. So if the tip is removed, throw it away. Don't use it. It can definitely compromise the health of your scalp and the health of your hair. Okay, so next we're going to move on to your cutting shears. And this is only for people who trim their own hair. So I did a whole video on how you can trim your own hair at home. I'll make sure I put it up above if you want to check it out. But if you are someone who does your own trims, then you have to get yourself a good pair of shears. These make a difference. So you can't just pick up any old shears from the house. Shears is in your kitchen that you use to cut chicken, or shears that your daughter uses to cut paper. You can't use them. They will destroy your ends and will lead to chronic re-splitting. And even shears that have dull blades can affect your ends. So invest in a pair of good shears. They don't have to be the most expensive shears. So I'm not suggesting that you go out and get what maybe a cosmetologist may use. We could spend an upward of $200, $300, $400 for a pair of shears. You don't have to do that. You can get yourself a good pair of shears that you use specifically for your hair. Again, I'll put a few links below of some shears that I recommend. Okay, and the last thing that I'll talk about that's in your toolkit are your clamps and your clips. So in general, make sure that your clamps and your clips have great hinges, that they're not falling apart, that they're not loosening up because that snags on your hair. Some of the clips like this have kind of serrated, kind of sharper edge. So if you're using something like this, you have to be gentle when you're using these clamps and these tools. So for example, when you're using clips and clamps in your hair like this, what damages your hair is when you just yank them out. The way to remove a clamp or clip is to hold the hair in place and gently remove it. So that's really the main thing with clips and clamps. In addition to, again, the damage of poorly made clips and clamps can do to your hair. Make sure when you remove them, you hold the hair and then remove them. Don't just yank the clip out of your hair. Okay, so as I wrap up, I would love for you to join my notification list as I relaunch the Curl House product line. It is coming this summer. I'm having a relaunch party. So I encourage you to join the notification list that I'll put above, or you can also join it. It'll be in the description below. Okay, if you enjoyed this video, make sure you give me a thumbs up, like the page so that you do not miss a video in the future. And until we talk again, stay fabulous.